Hi everyone. It has been a little while since I have done a video, but got a really interesting opportunity to check in with folks about creative and interactive approaches to therapy. And so, yeah, I I wanted to, I was preparing for this, and like trying to figure out like how to start, like what will be important. And as always, I'm gonna start with a story time. So I'm not gonna do a whole bunch of like introduction. My name is Sequoia. I use she and her pronouns. And if you're coming across this, you are interested in creative or interactive approaches to therapy. I am a therapist, a social worker, an artist. I wear a number of different hats, but and I was like I was saying, I was thinking about how to start this, and I'm like, okay, let's start with a story. And I'm like, wow, I've been using like creative and interactive ways to engage in therapy since I was able to facilitate therapy, and have done that in a number of different ways. And I'm gonna start there. And I started a little, I started a demo here with a therapy room, which is kind of the introduction to how I got this opportunity to chat with y'all about creative and intervention approaches. So we can just kind of start there. So this journey to being here today was prompted from a Facebook post that was kind of asking about like creative ways that therapists are, incorporating things into, their sessions. And I had responded that I use, Canva in my therapy sessions and build virtual therapy rooms. And so, yeah, folks were really interested in that. And I mentioned on Facebook, that you can Google like virtual therapy room, virtual counseling room, and, there's some different like resources that come up. But also wanted to just, yeah, show you like how I set my room up and some of my thoughts around it. And then also like some of the other ways that I incorporated. And then a upcoming training. So for those that might be either watching this on the playback or are here with me today, if you have questions, like please feel free to drop them in the comment section. Or if you're watching on Facebook, if it's easier to see the comment section on like the invite for the event, you can always write on the wall of the event page and leave me a question, and it would be my pleasure to answer you. So yeah, feel free, even if you come back and drop questions in. Like, this is a conversation, because again, there was a lot of interest, but folks didn't really give me a whole lot of um like parameter or container around what they're kind of thinking about this. So I'm just going to share like what I've been doing for the past 15 years. I don't even like to say that, with the past 15 plus years, in different settings. And I've worked across like community mental health, private practice, worked in hospitals, worked in healthcare, community healthcare settings, and in all of those settings, like, worked in locked facilities, detention facilities with youth. Um, And so, yeah, in all of those settings, I have done some type of creative, expressive, interactive approach with my clients. And yeah, just going to share a little bit more about that. So I started off um, with kind of like scrapbooking in undergrad and grad school. I would like scrapbook my practicum. So I have two, and depending on how old you are, if you're a millennial, you might know the words trapper keeper, but it was like a binder where I would keep like different aspects of my practicum. So, like in undergrad, I did a school social work internship where I was at a school. And one of the things that I, was responsible for was pulling students out of classes and supporting them, related to socio emotional wellness. And so, we would do one on one sessions. Sometimes I would do groups. And so, with each of those opportunities, I would make something. So, there might be an agenda for that, or there might be some type of activity or a worksheet. And so, in this binder, I would collect all of those things. um, and the other thing that I would do is journal about those experiences. What were my reflections? And so I did that in undergrad. And then when I got to grad school, one of the kind of like one credit courses that was being offered was like a creative portfolio course. So like this was like one of those one credit courses that you could take, and just get some brief information on a topic. And this one was creative based. And so creative portfolio is kind of what it sounds like. It's like a binder, a scrapbook, if you will, of the different projects that you're working on, so like collecting different ephemera, scrapbooking pieces, different um, memory pieces from those projects, and keeping them in a binder, and then writing, journaling, doing some art around those experiences. And, at the end, when your project is complete, you would do a presentation based on that binder. And so yeah, like those were kind of my initial experiences with incorporating these creative aspects with like mental health, social work kind of stuff. Um and so, yep, like that was undergrad, grad school. And then another grad school experience that I had was, I don't know if have y'all ever been to like a teaching store? So like a store that's specifically for teachers, and they would have supplies, different like educational tools and resources, just very specialized to education, right? Well, for those that don't know, I went to University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. So I was in Michigan, and I was either in Dearborn or Farmington Hills. It was somewhere like that. And there was a therapeutic bookstore, like a therapeutic supply store. And I had never seen anything like that. And the closest thing that I can compare this therapeutic supply store to is like a teacher store, you know? And so in this therapeutic um, uh, yeah, in this therapeutic tools store, it was specifically, it wasn't educational, like academic based tools. It was all therapy tools. So tools that were made by therapists or things that were made for therapists, right? Had never seen anything like that before. But in this store, there were so many like different resources and options and things that I had never come across before. That was the first time that I had learned about like therapeutic cards, therapeutic games, different yeah, just different activities, workbooks, um, and other ways to like connect mental health, wellness with like game interactive aspects. And so that was like another like inspiration point for me. That store has stayed in my mind. I think in another life, maybe I would open something like that. But that store, yeah, like the concept of it was just so like amazing. And so that's like another marker for me about like how did I get here? How do we get here? How did I get on this like creative walk? I appreciate y'all so much for the comments. Hi. Yes, please, no worries if you have to catch me on the replay. That absolutely makes sense. And that is no problem at all. I thought that this would be the most convenient, thing for folks because like I said, there was a lot of interest and I didn't really get a good kind of container or parameter for what folks were interested in. So yeah, like watching it on the replay is absolutely welcome, and you can leave your comments and questions in the comment section so that others can view that. But then also I will absolutely respond. We are just like kind of wrapping up my story time again, kind of giving y'all a little bit of background about myself, and also uh giving you another kind of aspect too of creative approaches to therapy, right? Which is storytelling, narrative therapy. And so yeah, that's another way that we're starting off. So so yeah, that's what happened related to this therapeutic tool store that was so it just blew my mind. I'm like, okay, so not only are there these types of tools out there like therapeutic cards and games, but also there are people who make these things too, right? So that was something else that stuck in my mind. The other thing that kind of came to my memory that I thought was so funny, um, when I lived in Northwest Indiana, I worked in a community mental health agency that's still up and running, but I was doing home based therapy with children and their families that had open child welfare cases. And so these were folks who were mandated to therapy, as it relates to like there might have, if I remember correctly, there was like either some reunification or some preservation, kind of work happening, or needs there. And so therapists, were coming in and they didn't have to come into the office. We could go into their home and provide therapy. So I was doing this in Northwest Indiana. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about that job, and I was laughing this morning about it because I was thinking like I would come to my clients' homes and I would have this big kind of, I would think about an IKEA duffel, not an IKEA duffel bag, but y'all know those blue bags that you can get from IKEA that has the yellow writing on it and it's real big and oversized, and it just has the two handles on it and you can pick it up, right, and put anything in there. It's misshapen. I had a big dumbass bag like that, right? And I would come into my clients' homes with a big, like, kind of IKEA bag like that, full of all kinds of things, right? Like art materials, color pencils, paper, board games. I had card games at that time, like Apples to Apples was real huge. So I had, like games like that. I would have like Uno, different kind of like card games. I just had this random like Barney bag, right? Full of different creative activities that I would like lug in and out of people's homes doing home-based therapy with them and their children. And those are kind of my examples of like the stepping stones to me continuing to incorporate creativity, and just interactive approaches into my sessions. So okay. That's the background on that. Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate you all. Thank you all for your interest. And yeah, wherever you kind of pop in, you're welcome. Please drop your comments or your questions if you have them. And I'll just keep going. So I was just sharing a little bit about like how do we get here, sharing more about my story about incorporating creative and interactive approaches into therapy. And those are just a few examples. I haven't even told y'all about, at one point I went to art school and, I facilitated a creative wellness group with South African women that were in a domestic violence shelter in Cape Town, South Africa. So I've had all these different experiences that parallel the art world, and yeah, have just had a journey related to coming back to my actual creative practice, my own creative practice, and like how that ties into all of this. But one of the other things that I was thinking about related to like this topic on integrating creative and interactive approaches is like, how do you get started? Right. And so I was thinking like, well, how did I get started? In incorporating these things. And one of the things that I was thinking about was like myself, I am a visual learner. I appreciate being able to see things on a screen, right? Like being able to view things as I'm talking about it is very, very helpful. So, of course, when we think about like when we're in therapy, and we might be processing like really difficult and complex and layered, kind of topics, sometimes it's helpful to see it on a screen to be able to process it, to help with integration. So that's like my kind of thoughts about it. The other thing too is I enjoy creative and interactive approaches because of that, because I am a visual kind of learner, because it helps me to integrate words, to see kind of pictures or images or colors and things like that. Um, yeah, those things help me. And so they've shown up in my creative practice. The other thing that I want to share too is I also identify I'm a therapist that I have an emotional support animal. I have complex PTSD and have talked about that more so on my TikTok and maybe a little bit on my IG. But I have complex PTSD. And so I understand, yeah, that, sometimes even when you're in therapy and you're talking about, again, these really complex and layered aspects of trauma, sometimes it's hard to process the concepts because it is so layered. And so, like, when you have words on a screen, or in front of you rather, it just makes it easier to like understand it all. So that's one thing that I'll offer is to think about like what kind of learner are you? How do you incorporate new information? Like what's helpful for you related to change, related to motivation for action. And sometimes things like colors and seeing it on a screen help help you to understand like how to move, how to like get that willpower. Again, if we're talking about like behavior changes, or action, getting motivation to be action oriented and things like that. Yeah, the visual stimulation is absolutely a part of that. Let's see. Okay. The other thing that I want to say too about how to get started with incorporating creative and interactive interventions too is, of course, there's a little bit of decolonizing here as well, right? We know that creative kind of approaches, art, it's not really valued, in many different spaces. And so a lot of times there has to be an intention to incorporate that even within like the things that we do as social workers. And so when we talk about, like, even in school, developing your therapeutic approach, like your lens, it's not just about your framework, like how you incorporate the different frameworks. It's also about, like how developing, when you're developing your therapeutic approach and lens, how are you managing your emotions and yourself throughout the session. There's a lot of attention on the client experience, which is absolutely important, but also, what about yourself? Like, how do you take care of yourself? And so for me, this is one way that I reduce burnout in sessions because it helps me to manage my own energy during the session, right? Because I'm not constantly it's not like this one note. We can, like, talk about some things. We can go to the Canva and, like, pull up something that's a little bit more interactive that shifts the energy. We can do a little bit of writing. you know I might open up a Canva to a quote or something, and again, that helps to, like, shift the energy. um, and also helps and encourages, like, somatic approaches too, right? Because it's not just this cerebral talking experience. It also gets, like, visual and gets other parts stimulated too. So this, what I'm saying related to this, is thinking about incorporating creative aspects into your approach is also a part of your developing your therapeutic approach and lens too. The other piece that I'll add about decolonizing, in this part as well, is we're talking about developing your therapeutic approach. One of the things that I see, sense, feel, and then y'all can definitely let me know how you feel about this too. I feel like we get encouraged to get trained in modalities and frameworks that, that support our clients, that are important to our communities, but that are also sometimes, a part of the trend or buzzwordy, or things that can make us money, things that we know that are lucrative. All of that is fine and well. There's no judgment here about any of that. But I feel like an aspect of developing your therapeutic approach that doesn't get talked about a lot too is you need to pick a modality or a framework or an intervention that you enjoy too, something that you find fun, something that you can do as well. And so for me, that's incorporating these creative aspects into my therapy because I enjoy that too, because I need that too, because sitting in front of a Zoom screen, when it's just me and the other person, is draining for me too, so popping open something that's colorful, it just helps to change the vibe. It helps to, like, bring in, um like, a spark of energy, some inspiration, a new way to reflect on things and process. Okay. The last thing I'm gonna say about how to get started. Again, these are things that I'm thinking about with myself. Like, how can I talk to y'all about this? And so, yeah, like, this is my process. This is, like, literally how this is kind of developed for me and continues to, right? So the other thing that I'll say too, and let me do a little recap, okay? So how to get started with incorporating these things, right? Again, I thought about what kind of learner am I? Like, I'm a visual learner, and that's helpful for me. The other thing that I thought about too is developing my therapeutic approach. And we talked a little bit about, what's supportive. Think about what's supportive for you, even in the sessions, as well as thinking about, what modalities and techniques are you being trained in. Pick one that's fun, one one that's fun for you. The last thing that I'll say too is you have to play the games. Um, if there are things that you are interested in and you think that they're fun, you play them. So, like, these games that I've linked even here, um, Like I'm gonna do the demo shortly, but like this is one of the platforms that I will link and show you all. But I've played all of the games that are listed here. It might be hard to see this. Let's see. Okay. It might be a little bit tough to see this list of games. But I've played all of these games that are listed here on this website, that I'm linking for my clients because, how can I suggest that we play this particular game if I haven't done it myself, right? So you got to get in there and you got to play some games too. One of the things that was really helpful for me at one point in time, I just, took $100 and was like, okay, I'm gonna get a therapeutic card game. I'm going to get a board game. I'm going to get a workbook, and I'm going to get whatever else with this $100. I'm going to play all of this stuff, see how I like it, test it out, and then see what my clients think about it. Right. And that's a easy way, or let me say, that's an accessible way to kind of start, is for you to just get out there and start playing yourself, get some of these things. And it might be stuff that you might not play again. You might end up giving it to someone for a gift, or just gifting it to someone. It may be something that you may not be able to use, but get yourself in the energy of creativity. Get yourself in the energy of games. Again, therapeutic games, if that's something that you're interested in, play them yourself. Um, okay, so the demo. Okay. I hope all of that was like helpful in some kind of way. Please know that I am open to, whatever you all have to say about any of this. But the one thing that I just wanted to share about setting up your therapy room is that, create a room that matches you and your client. So, like for this one, I have this little kiddo here, and then I have a little miniature schnauzer because I have a miniature schnauzer. So you might want to have something that represents like your client here, or, if they have a pet, you might want to put a pet in there in the therapy room for the client. Um, it doesn't always have to be like a person, be creative. Yeah, it could be a pet. I know someone that has a pet snake. Like you could definitely put a pet snake in the pet room or in the therapy room to represent, the person that's in the therapy room. So that's an offer to kind of start this conversation about the demo, about just being creative. If this is something that you're interested in, it doesn't have to be traditional. We say the title or this aspect is like how to create a virtual therapy room or a virtual counseling room, but you see here on my screen, and I'm sorry, I hope this is big enough, I hope that it's translating where y'all can like see it okay, but like in this room, I don't have a couch, right? Like in this therapy room, there isn't a couch. It's more of like a playroom, if you will, a yoga room, a spiritual kind of room, right? We have a yoga kind of blanket laid out. We got a little bit of a desk. We've got some bookshelves in the back, right? We've got a window scene over here on this bookshelf. We've got a journal in hand. Oops, sorry, y'all. Jeez. We've got a journal in hand this way. We've got a yoga mat. These are tarot cards. Could be oracle cards, could be like therapeutic cards, right? And then down here, I'm going to talk about this shortly. This is a timeline. So that's a timeline activity there. And then on this side of the room, on this bookshelf, we just got some Uno cards. Nope, this way. Come on, influence a finger. Get right there. Okay. We got Uno cards. We got some dice. And then we have a little how are you feeling tracker here. Where did you make this room? Canva. Yes, thank you for that. I am in Canva. And I'm sorry, I know it might be a little hard to see because I had to zoom it out because I feel like it's so small. But yep, this is Canva. This is Canva Pro. But you can make these therapy rooms on the free version of Canva. And I'm in a whiteboard. So, like, when you get ready to pick, like, what kind of design, it says create a design, and you can pick what kind of file you're making, like an Instagram post or, like a letter or something like that. This is a whiteboard. Thank you for that question. Um, okay, so Uno, dice, and then like a how are you feeling barometer. Okay. So, yeah, based on like who your client is and like what the vibes are, for each client, I have a different Canva link. You know, some of them have the same aspect. So, meaning like everybody might get this same Uno card element, right? But the layout of the room might be completely different, right? So, like for one of my older clients, right, someone who isn't a kiddo, I might have a therapy office set up. So I might have a couch and a desk, something a little bit more formal. Um, I might have a client who likes Shrek, right? And I might set this up like Shrek Bog, you know. Um, the other thing that I was kind of thinking about too. Oh, like a Zen retreat space. So, like, you might have an older client, but you don't want to set up a traditional like therapy room, right? Maybe you do something like this, but just something that's a little bit more age appropriate. So, you might set up like a retreat space. Right. And so with the retreat space and elements, you'll look for like, again, maybe like a yoga mat. You might look for a lounge chair. You might look for like crystals. You might look for like a massage table or something like that to um, emulate the vibes of like a Zen retreat space. So every client gets their own room. Yep, every client gets their own room because you are also making sure that um, keep up with confidentiality, HIPAA kind of stuff too, right? Like you can share, let me see. Let me zoom this whole link, this window out. Okay. So let me see. So like when you go here to share, I think you can see that here. There's a share button. You click share. And what you want to do is you can click the little button here, and then anyone with the link can have access to this one room, right? And so you're just sharing it. You're going to share it with one person. And then when you make another room, you're going to share it with somebody else, right? Because this may be a room or a board, right? Where you might draw or text in here with the client, right? So you want to make sure that that information isn't, getting to any of your other clients, right? You might want to journal with each other in here. Or the other thing that you might do, and I'll come back to this shortly, um, to give you an example using a timeline of also why each client has a different room, right? It's kind of like their own, you can also think about it like their own Zoom link, you know? You wouldn't necessarily share the same Zoom link with everybody because this one, again, you might have something that's very specific to that client linked in on one of the boards that you have. Um, okay. Okay, let's see. Where was that? Create something you and your client want to return to. Okay, right. So create a room that matches you and your client, right? So the other thing too that you want to be mindful of is you want to create something that y'all both want to come back to. You know, again, um, if you are building this out. And so, what I'm just showing you all today is the games that you can link here. There are some kind of advanced aspects of building a therapy room out that I would love to um, share with y'all. And I do have some dates coming up on that. So, I'll get to that shortly. But yeah, so you want to create something that you and your client want to return to, right? So like I mentioned, you might want to do like a Shrek bug, you might want to do a castle, a Zen retreat space. If you have a younger client who's a kiddo, you might want to do something that has like a racetrack theme. You can be as creative as you like with that. Okay, so let me show y'all. So again, like one of the things that I was saying that you could do is um link different link different games in the rooms with your clients. So like for instance, what I do is at the beginning of my sessions, I ask my client, clearly check in with them, and then I will just drop the copy the link and then drop it in the comment section um, to my client, and then they'll open it up. And again, depending on which client it is, we might do the check in with your feelings one first, right? So I might tell them, okay, if you're gonna, let's check in further. And then you would have them click on like the how are you feeling barometer, right? And then that'll open up into another window that I'll show y'all shortly. But then mostly today is just about like talking through more about the different games that you can just link on here if you have a client that wants to play more games in session, or you want to be more interactive in session. So like this is the one that I use for Uno. I use Uno and Connect Four mostly with the Buddy Boards game. So you can just go into Google and I can show you. If you go into Google and you just type in like Uno Connect Four, and I'm just saying virtual. Buddy Boards is like the second one that pops up. And then you click on that, and then it comes up like this. And then you could just follow the prompts to get into the room that you want. But you just copy the link, go back to your Uno cards, click on the three dots, and look for link. Copy and paste the link there. And then you have the cards or this the website linked to your Uno cards. So when you share the link with your client, the room link with your client, and then they click on it, they'll be it'll come up like this. And then they'll be able to click on it and it'll take them right to the room, right? Okay, so either November 17th or December 8th. I would love to do like a more advanced kind of training on creative and interactive approaches. So there's so many different things that different games that you can link out. So like there's free versions of Pictionary, there's free versions of like Scrabble and some of the other like board games. And you can just go in Canva and look for those, little pictures to place on your bookshelves or however you're going to store, however you want to display, the things that you want to link. And then you can just link those games, right? But then there are some other things that you can do in on your My goodness, on your whiteboard in the room with your client, that helps with like a little bit of data tracking too. And also like in my mind, this is like as well timelining with clients too. So like two things that you can do with clients that help with some of that are like tracking their feelings. Every time they come in, you can track how they feel. The other thing that I have over here, I'll show you this shortly. So same thing, I created a second whiteboard. I named it Creative Therapy Demo Link Out. But like if this is your feelings tracker, you can name the whiteboard Feelings Tracker, link it here just like you did the Uno website, and then click on it. Okay. And then if you click on it, it takes you to a separate whiteboard. Let's see. I'm sorry, it's hard to see. Okay. So on the second whiteboard, what you can do is you can kind of set it up like how are you feeling, right? And you can have the date or the day there and spell it out. You can put in different like emojis and pictures and things like that to decorate it. And the client can come in, and on their Monday appointments and say, oh, I'm feeling happy, right? So they go into the elements, they say that they're happy, and then let's say that they pick this emoji, right? And then they have their next appointment, you would date it, and then the next Sunday that they come in, you would have this all set up again. You go through the same routine about how you're feeling. You ask them, how are you doing? They say, oh, I'm feeling sad today, right? And then they go in, they pick the emoji. That's for that day, right? So let's say that you keep doing this over, I don't know, 90 days, right? 90 days, you will have, right, like all of these different data points, all of these different interactions where you've tracked like how your client is feeling, how they've been doing, and that may be helpful for you, for them as it relates to again like their mood or whatever you all have kind of identified as important to track. Why would it be important to see how someone's moods are going over 90 days and maybe have this particular way to see that, right? Okay. So that's one, like that is this part of having the emotions tracker, right? So like again, we initially started off with games, and so then now we're getting into a little bit more advanced way of being interactive in your session. So, like, this is the way that the client sees it, meaning, they're just tracking how they feel every day. They're just coming in, clicking on this, right? And then they're able to see, oh, the past, Sundays during my appointment, I was happy at the beginning of the month, at the middle of the month, I was sad, blah, 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 right? Something else that you can do with your client. So on this side of the room at the bottom, I got a little emoji that kind of looks like a timeline, right? So if you click that, I'm tracking both things in the same document, right? But it's two separate like links or two separate emojis back in the room, right? So we can see the feelings on that side. And then let's say you want to do a vision board, right? This just says vision board. Let's say you want to do a vision board with your client, right? You can also do a vision board with them in here. Um, and again, with the vision board, it could be something related to vision board and for therapy, like how do they see their life now? They do a vision board with all the different elements, pulling out different elements that, identify with how they see their life now and then how they see their life in the future or what they would like for the future. You can do that right here with your client. Y'all can build on it week by week if you want to together. Excuse me. You could also do like goals. You could keep track of goals as well through like a vision board on here. So there's so much that like I could keep continue to share with y'all about this and like different creative ways of like you can link things. The other thing too, like if you're a journaler, I didn't make a separate board for this one, but like this is just a little hand with a piece of paper and a pen, right? So like if I had linked something there, my client would be able to click that and like I don't know, a room that would go for that would be attached to this hand and like journaling would be maybe a list of like journal prompts. And then every week that you see your client, y'all would, click on this little hand and then they could, either mind map or do really short sentences in those you know in those weekly journal prompts that you laid out in the separate document and then link there. um so I know that was a lot. I know there was so much. But like I said, there's and when I was preparing for this, I have like I have my iPad open and I have like a little outline sitting here and the agenda just kept coming and I'm like, oh shit, I guess I got a lot to say about this. I guess I feel very passionate about this. So there's like other things that I could also suggest about like other creative approaches. Like if you're thinking like, well, what are some other ways, what are some other like creative or interactive approaches? So like I mentioned, vision boarding, you can do that virtually with your clients. Something else that you can bring into your therapy sessions to teens, young people, and other adults make zines, zines, zines. And so if you like zines, you can bring zines into your therapy sessions. There's bibliotherapy, there's poetry. As I mentioned, there's therapeutic cards and games like affirmations, quotes, visual and creative aids. You can bring podcasts into your therapy sessions. There's narrative therapy. Other interactive approaches could be like walking therapy, drumming therapy. I know that I mentioned like mind maps, timelines. Genograms are also like a creative and interactive approach to therapy. Drama and music are also creative and can be interactive, and then journaling and workbook review and processing. So, like, these are, yeah, just some additional kind of creative and interactive approaches. There are a few that I mentioned on that list that I can be of assistance as it relates to like how to apply that, how to incorporate it into your sessions. So like things like bibliotherapy, narrative therapy, therapeutic cards and games, podcasts, mind maps, timelines, genograms, and journaling are all things that I can like, yeah, like talk to y'all about, see your resources on, train on, like all of that good stuff. I know that that was like so much. I know that that was a lot. But yeah, just wanted to like, I don't know, start a conversation maybe because like I said, I'm still so interested in like everything that y'all are um wanting to know about this. I'm going to do better with my setup for the next time. I appreciate y'all for being kind as it relates to my setup. I could also, if you like, I could send the link to just this like demo here. I saw the Shell's comment about interactions. I'm trying to think. I would need to go through and like take out some identifying information. Let me work on that. And actually like create maybe like a mock one, like a mock interaction of maybe like a mind map or a timeline or something. I think that might be easiest for me to recreate um with the client. Um, okay, yeah, and I can do that. Let me work on that. Y'all let me know if that's something that others are interested in too. Seeing how folks interact and what that looks like. I can definitely make like a little mock one of one of those activities. And then the last thing that I'll say, because this was only supposed to be like 20, 20, 30 minutes. But I really love talking about this so much. Um, I was thinking, like the next thing that we could potentially do is like, how do you, so like today we talked a lot about like how to get started, how do you incorporate, and like maybe I could talk more about how do you curate, a therapy room to be for specific like socio-emotional needs. So like, there might be y'all might have clients who clearly, have ADHD or might be autistic, and you might have a room that's specifically tailored to that, right? Like, how do you do that? And so, yeah, based on like the clients that I have like a few templates, if you will, of like ways that I build out more advanced, like socio emotional um, and interactive ways to engage with them. And so, like, I was thinking we could do maybe like a training either November 17th or December 8th. Those are the dates that I'm like kicking around. I have on here November 17th, but yeah, I know that that's like kind of around Thanksgiving and stuff. So I'm gonna do something more advanced. Yeah, like November 17th or December 8th. It'll be like a sliding fee scale between 25 to $50. I'll be talking more about those advanced aspects, like I mentioned before, with the example about the emotions tracker, the weekly emotions tracker, like the vision board, and then the journaling. That's what I mean by like building out more advanced, specific, like socio emotional focused, like prompts in the rooms, like going further than like linking games, right? So, okay, this has been fun. It's been fun, y'all. I oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna make a note of that then, and I will make sure that I have my template for my clients that yeah, they have ADHD, that's ADHD supported, and we could definitely talk about that one as well. Okay, cool. It's been fun, y'all. This has been a great Sunday. It's been great to chat with y'all in the comments. It's been my pleasure. Um, I appreciate y'all for even just responding, to the post and like sending me y'all's emails to like stay connected and everything. And for folks that might run across this and are listening, like please know that you are welcome too. Um, y'all feel free to connect with me wherever you might find me on social media. I do a lot of different things. I have a podcast called Reclaiming Soul Work Podcast. Where we talk about some different things, but around like the intersections of spirituality and mental health and social justice. As I mentioned, I'm also an artist, so do some stuff related to that. I'm currently exhibiting in Chicago right now at Woman Made Gallery. So if you're listening and you're in Chicago or in the Chicago area, go check out Woman Made Gallery. There's a decolonizing feminism exhibition going on until November. And then what else do I be doing in these streets? Um, yeah, just sending out good energy. That's how I'll end things. I'm just gonna send out good energy to y'all, and I'll let y'all know if I don't get any feedback on the dates. I'm just gonna pick one, okay? And hope that y'all are available. And if you're not, then maybe you can catch us on the next one. And I appreciate y'all. Thank you.